I woke up this morning and I decided to take a massive dump on Palantir. Palantir embodies everything that can and does go wrong with technology. Palantir is the definition of pure evil with infinite ability. And the most capable, the most fearful ability we have today is AI technologies and AI systems. There's not a chance in hell that you guys are unaware of what Palantir is and what they do, but I'll just summarize in terms of the products that it offers. Basically, Palantir enables creating surveillance systems and autonomous decision making to power systems that are used by governments in military applications specifically. Most of Palantir's revenue comes in from government contracts. Some of their products include Gotham, which uses data from very intimate phone, text, messages, and social media, Foundry, and the infamous artificial intelligence program or platform, whatever they want to call it. But it's all basically AI wrapped into this heinous, disgusting pile of technologies that are abused as far as I'm concerned, as far as most people are concerned. Hopefully by the end of this video, you're going to be convinced that Palantir is probably the most evil company on the face of the planet right now. But let me sort of make a case for you, right? And it's not just the evil that they do abroad, because the US, let's face it, has this almost disregard and apathy towards the dirty things that it does beyond its borders in other countries. I'm using the term apathy, which is a very scaled back expression of what I think the US's role is like in most foreign involvements. But the US, for the most part, tends to be apathetic. Its citizens included tend to be pretty apathetic when it comes to its violations abroad. A lot of citizens in the US are even unaware of it. But anyway, you have these violations. You have these evil things that it does beyond its borders. But for the most part, people do care about what's happening within its borders. Let me start with the messed up things Palantir does within its borders, right? Palantir's technology has powered surveillance programs not just in the Middle East and elsewhere in the world, but within the US as well. Palantir provides the AI-powered surveillance systems that powers NSA's PRISM program, which is a domestic surveillance program. And because of how opaque this program is, nobody really knows the extent to which these systems are infringing on civil liberties, right? These are very opaque government contracts, and the technologies and tools they're using under the hood are, for the most part, hidden away from the public view. Palantir has also played a very, very involved role in ICE deportations. Their surveillance technology, specifically the Falcon system, has helped effectively and efficiently carry out mass deportations, not just in the Trump administration, but in prior administrations to this current administration. And what is very heartbreaking is AI systems that Palantir creates also are involved in creating family separation policies. So if there are detentions and separations that happen due to deportations, AI systems built by Palantir have had a direct hand in facilitating a lot of those. Palantir's technologies are used, Palantir's software is used by the police in order to do something called predictive policing, which is a practice that disproportionately affects minorities and leans in very heavily on racial biases to help police make arrests. And in a lot of ways, I think this propagates a lot of police brutality. And again, these AI systems are, even though Palantir claims, oh, these are neutral, these AI systems are pretty opaque. And if there's existing biases that have been propagated by law enforcement, they will be amplified by these AI systems. I do want to talk about a lot of how Palantir is involved in Israel and the U.S. operations in Gaza as well, and it is truly, truly heartbreaking. And I think it's not even an overreach to say that Palantir is directly implicated in the civilian casualties and in enabling the war crimes that are happening in Palestine, in Gaza. Like I said, most of Palantir's surveillance technology is used for military applications. Their customers are government contractors. And one of the key ways in which the AI systems that Palantir builds is in carrying out drone strikes, and using systems like Gotham and its artificial intelligence platform. It also comes up with these kill lists. And if you've been paying any attention to what's been happening in Gaza, the number of civilian casualties that have been coming out is beyond acceptable. And that is prime evidence of how these surveillance systems not just work very well, but they are extremely flawed. There's also a program that Palantir is building called Program Titan. And there's speculation, I'm not going to be presenting evidence here, but there's speculation that this program is meant or is slated to be tested out in Gaza. Basically, what this program does is it generates AI-powered automated kill chains, where you have this autonomous system that takes in data input from the battlefield in air, sea, and land, and it uses AI systems to make decisions about strikes, kill strikes. So the entire process of decision-making that is involved into making strikes and taking military action is pretty much automated because of the abilities of this tool, Titan. Now, at the end of the day, there's plenty of defense contractors out there, right? There's defense contractors that very clearly make weapons of evil, that makes weapons of war, and they have very visible labels and connotations tied to them. Defense contractors getting money in the US and getting funding and support in the US is not really a new thing. But I think that incorporating AI into these systems and making these systems thinking machines and thinking killing machines, and making these systems and sort of injecting amoral biases into these systems so that the decisions that these systems are able to take affects civilians, innocent civilians, in a large scale without human intervention in the decision-making process is an incredibly scary, slippery slope that we're already fumbling and slipping on. And I know that, again, I could make videos on videos on videos about the evils of Palantir, but the reason I wanted to make this video is because there is a case to be made about Palantir being overvalued as well. And it's not just me saying this. Andrew Left of Citron Research, the legendary short seller that is the boogeyman of companies in the publicly traded markets, in the public exchanges, recently came up with a report on how Palantir is an incredibly overvalued company. Palantir right now is trading at a price-to-sales ratio of around 80, which means compared to the revenue that it's making, its market cap is 80 times higher. It has a price-to-earnings ratio. Okay, so that was let's say Palantir is making X amount of revenue. Its market cap is 80 times that. But let's talk about the number that matters more. It's earnings. Palantir has a price-to-earnings ratio of 290, which is an insane figure. If that doesn't scream overvaluation, then I don't know what does. For every dollar that it is making in profit, it is valued 290 times that. This is insane. This seems incredibly unsustainable. And this is unprecedented, according to Andrew Left of Citron Research. This is unprecedented in financial markets. Let's just compare this kind of valuation in these numbers to another small AI company that everyone's been talking about, OpenAI. Palantir's valuation, its market cap is around $480 billion in terms of the market cap, and OpenAI's market cap compared to that is very comparable at $500 billion. But the problem is, OpenAI has over 700 million users. Everybody uses ChatGPT every day, every hour, in fact, and it's got an incredibly broad base. It brings in a whopping revenue of $30 billion a year. Compared to that, Palantir only has government contracts. It brings in a revenue of $5.6 billion, and these are revenue numbers. This isn't even profit. If we get into the profit numbers, the valuation seems even more inflated and even more excessive. Andrew Left from Citron Research has said that even if Palantir drops by 77%, where its stock is trading for $40, it would still be overvalued. Now, Andrew Left hasn't decided to short Palantir because it's an immoral company. He's not claiming Palantir is immoral the same way I am. In fact, he has no issues with the kind of business Palantir is conducting. You don't really short companies because they're in the defense sector. So let's give Palantir that sort of breathing room there. But the merits of this short sell case is entirely based on Palantir's overvaluation. The hopeful bit of news here is that every time Citron Research comes up with a short sell report, the company dips around 40% in the year after. So we'll see. And at the end of the day, the best way to pull the plug on projects in the US is by pulling the funding on said projects. So if companies like Palantir are held accountable in the stock market, at least because of their valuations, then hopefully some of the horrible things they do can be curbed. That's kind of it for today's video. That's it for this live stream. Thank you for tagging along. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.